Why I am confident that my first book will be a great success. Now, when you hear that, you're already rooting against me. Like, I know that sounds cocky. Hang with me, let me explain. At the time of this recording, we are about 5 days away from the release of my first book, The Rest of the Man's Show. And you can see here from the paperback copy, it's ready to go. You can even see here in the hardcover version, it's ready to go. It looks nice. It even has words on the pages, so it's all good. And sorry about that. My agent insisted on product placement in this video, and he also insisted that I make a link available inside the video description of where you can purchase this book on Amazon. By the way, in addition to being the book's author, I am also the publicist, I am the agent, I am the promoter, and all of those different things. There's not a great big team behind me, just a few family members, some friends that have kind of supported and come along the way. So it really isn't a big team. So you might even be wondering more, how can I make the claims? There's not a great big team. How can I make the claims that this book is going to be a great success? Well, let's up the ante and add even a little bit more weight to it. I don't know if you know this, but the average self-published book sells about 250 copies in its lifetime. Now, because I wanted to invest in a certain quality, I invested funds into the editing, into the art, because I wanted it to be something people felt good about and enjoyed when they experienced it. So because of that, my book has to sell at least 750 copies before it breaks even. And again, that's just to the break-even point. So that's 3 times what an average self-published book will sell in its lifetime. So how in the world do I feel no pressure right now? How can I feel genuinely good and honestly smile when I think about the upcoming release of my book? Is it arrogance? Is it ignorance? Is it delusion? I don't think it's any of those things. I think it's something else. It's perspective. You see, if my only measure of success for this book is commercial success, then I would absolutely have every right to be nervous and even terrified right now, because the odds for this are stacked against me. I mean, to recover the thousands of dollars I've financially invested, never mind be compensated for the hundreds of hours that I've poured into the book. Again, the odds to even have any of that are very scarce. However, if success is defined differently, not as commercial success, but in a different way, then I have every right to be confident of success. So let me give you the 4 reasons that I am confident this book will be a success and kind of the metrics that I'm looking at. Number 1, because I obeyed God. You see, God gave me the vision to write this book on a literal mountaintop experience last year at a Trinity Encounter retreat where a bunch of us were seeking God. I believe God gave me the vision. I had already had the title for many years, but I didn't really know what the contents would be. But God clarified in that moment the content of kind of the rough cut of what it was supposed to be. And I really sensed that this was what I was supposed to do. Now, it didn't make sense. I sensed what God was saying, but it didn't make sense. But much like God's people throughout history, whether it's Noah building an ark or Abraham taking Isaac up to the altar, many times God's instructions don't make sense. And our job is not to make sense of the things that don't make sense that God tells us. It's to obey what he says. And again, it doesn't make any sense for an unknown author to write a book and to go forward and to do these things, especially a book that some frankly might have a hard time making sense of. But I did it because I believe God told me to do it. So success is the obedience. Success is the obedience, not the outcome. Number 2, the second reason I can feel confident that this book is going to be a great success is because I fulfilled a lifelong dream. Now, when I was a kid, if you were to ask me what I want to be when I grow up, it was always a writer, a comedian, or a rock star. Well, the comedian thing didn't really work out. The rock star thing, that didn't really work out. But hey, I've always wanted to write a book. So in that sense, I'm fulfilling a dream that I have had pretty much all my life. Now, I've recently become acquainted with Brian Crumbs. He's got a great book, Neighbor Love Yourself. And he was talking about the fact that graveyards are filled not with just the remains of the people we love, but they're also filled with something else. They're filled with unfulfilled dreams, unwritten songs, unwritten books, items or inventions that never came into being because they died with us. And so when I thought about my life, I thought I can be okay if I do this and write this book that I felt I was supposed to write and it didn't achieve any type of commercial success. What I wouldn't feel okay with is coming to the end of my life and wondering, why didn't I ever do that? What would have happened if I had done that? So to me, getting this and doing this and fulfilling this goal is also a reason for success. The third reason I believe this book is a success is because I gave it everything that I've got. I went all in. Now, I can't guarantee that this is the best book that you'll ever read. I can promise it's the best possible book I could write at present. I showed up daily and wrote for hours diligently. And then when it was done, I rewrote it. And then I asked some friends to read it. And then I contracted an editor so it would be more enjoyable for whoever read it. By the way, if you think over 250 pages is long, you can thank my editor who cut it by about 20%. So all these things, when it came to even the how it would look, I went with 3 artists until I finally got the cover that I had envisioned in my mind that I thought was appropriate for this book. And then I was very intentional about what I included in the book with some hopefully insight, wisdom, guidance, humor, many things that I believe will be useful, things that I think will be super helpful. Now, I can't tell you how you're going to feel about it. I mean, that's the weird part. I've read this book so many times now because I've had to edit that I'm kind of sick of it, but I don't really know. Like, I feel it's good, but I don't know. You may read it and you may not feel that way. I can't be objective. You might read it and you might actually feel yourself getting dumber as you read it, right? Perhaps with every chapter, it's like, man, I'm just losing an IQ point with every single chapter. I sure hope not. But I also hope if that's what happens, that you're no longer smart enough to figure out how to write a bad review. I might edit the last part of this out of the video. But nonetheless, I ended up putting everything I have into this book. And the fourth and final reason that I'm confident this book will be a success is I believe it will change someone's life. It may not change everyone's life who reads it, but I believe it will change someone's life. I wrote a book that I wish I had earlier in my life to help guide me. I wrote a book that I wish my dad had had in his life to maybe help bring some guidance to him. I wrote a book that I believe others will greatly benefit from, that it may give some type of, maybe in the first half, it's some inspiration and some encouragement. Maybe in the second half of the book, it's some guidance, some instruction that will help you move to a new level in life. I told Rebecca about all this, about why I'm feeling encouraged about the book and the idea that I just hope it changes someone's life. And she said, well, I certainly hope so, because 20 years ago, when we uprooted our lives and moved to start a church, we said that even if one person's life is changed as a result, then it will have been worth it. And it was. And so it's my hope and belief that this book will be worth it if even one person's life is touched or changed in some way. Now, maybe you're coming across this video after the book's out, and because this book changed your life. If so, will you go ahead and write a comment or send me an email to let me know that it was worth it? Because you're worth it. And that would be such a great encouragement to me. So listen, again, just to wrap this up, I have no idea if this will be a success commercially. But if you want, you can go ahead and order a copy now, and then I've only got 749 more to go. But seriously, I do know that because of those 4 reasons that I mentioned, that this book will be a success, and I'm confident of that. And I'm very grateful for you watching this. I'm grateful to anyone who reads the book and to everyone and anyone who cheered me on along the way. Godspeed.